imbue, to inspire or permeate with a feeling or quality. So let's say today's meeting is to inspire or permeate with a feeling of newness. Janet, can you confirm our theme for today?
Yes, that is a great use of the word imbue. Our theme is new beginnings. Yes.
Thank you.
And you'll be counting the times we use the word of the day throughout the meeting, and also our filler words and such.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Okay. And this club likes to have table topics near the beginning of the meeting. So I would like to introduce Jeff Bott as our table topic master. And please note that guests are welcome to join in table topics also.
Thank you, Janet. Welcome, TV Toastmaster members and guests. Today, I just got the theme not too long ago, so the table topics have nothing to do with the theme. What I do have is something a little different than we're used to. I'm going to show you an image. It's going to be a billboard. And just talk about whatever comes to your mind. The first thing that comes to your mind when you see the billboard. So do I have any volunteers?
I get those words confused too.
Volunteers first, then
What's this, like a Rorschach test?
I think Bruce just volunteered. So thank you, Bruce. All right, Bruce, I'm gonna share my screen, and here is the first image. Take it away whenever you're ready.
Give Love Valentine's Day, Sunday, February 14th. Well, this year, February 14th was a Tuesday, so obviously it's not this year. Kroger, I know, is a food store chain that's not in Massachusetts. We have Market Basket, Stop and Shop, and Shaw's, and others. Valentine's Day has never meant anything to me except, well, maybe since elementary school. We taped paper bags to the side of our desk, like lunch bags, and one row at a time would get up and deliver their Valentine's Day card to everyone else in the room. So everybody gave everyone else a card. So that was interesting. But I will be, 2 weeks from tonight, I will turn 72. I'm still single, bachelor, never married. And that's the reason Valentine's Day has never meant anything to me. It's just another day in the calendar. But it's important because without it, February 13th and February 15th would be jammed up against each other with nothing to separate them. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Bruce. Great answer. Love that at the end. I do remember those days in elementary school when you had the paper bag, you had to make all the Valentine's cards for the entire class. And you were hopeful that, in my case, that one girl would put a little something special, a star or a kiss or something on her Valentine card for me, but it never happened, but I was always hopeful. So you really imbued a sense of warmness and love and good feeling there, Bruce. So thank you. Who is next? I'm just going to pick somebody. How about Janet?
All right.
All right. We're getting a different billboard.
The visual aids.
I have no idea. Do you have you're able to see screen?
Yeah. Yes, I say I like the visual aids. I found out recently I'm a visual person, so that's good.
All right, there you go. Janet, I have no idea what this means. Take it away.
It says your data should belong to, and something's crossed out, the NSA. I'm not sure what NSA stands for. Maybe it has something to do with science.
National Security Agency.
Oh, thank you. National Security Agency. Oh, okay. So it might have something to do with the government and the data they have on you. And this sign is trying to let us know that we should try to hold on to our data. So remember things like everything you put on Facebook, everyone's going to know about, especially if you're trying to get a job. I guess employers look at people's Facebook pages to find out about them. And sometimes the information banks have are hacked by hackers. So it is possible for your banking passwords and IDs and everything to be stolen. So I guess that's a big hassle, getting your identity back. But I probably am a more detailed person. Well, maybe I used to be. I'm more lackadaisical now. But I used to balance my checkbook all the time. And I have a pocket calendar, like Bruce says he has a pocket calendar. I keep track of my days on and what I'm doing. So I do try to keep track of my data. So anyway, thank you very much.
Very good, Janet. That was a tough one. Yeah, I wasn't sure what this meant either. I think I agree with Bruce. It's the National Security Agency, but great job at tackling that one. You're a DTM, so we got to give you a tough one.
That agency was created by Harry Truman, predecessor of Eisenhower. And for many years, nobody even knew it existed. And the joke inside among the employees was that NSA stood for no such agency. And one person might say, the security or the secrecy of my job prevents me from knowing what I'm doing.
Nice, nice.
But they track communications from all over the world.
Next person on my list is David Ash. David, you ready? David would have been like, this would have been a great one for me, but I'm sorry I didn't put this one. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing your screen.
I'm seeing it.
It says birds aren't real.
And is that all there is? Or birds are?
Those three words, birds aren't real.
It is a billboard and it says birds aren't real. That's all it says.
Okay, now I see it. So thank you for that. And I'm going to remain seated for this talk, but I'll stand for my actual speech. Birds aren't real. Well, obviously, as some of you know, I'm a skydiver, and sometimes occasionally it does happen that there are collisions between birds and skydivers in free fall. It does not happen very often, but it definitely is real. So that also reminds me that the birds are real. Where I live right now, there are a lot of birds. I'm not very good at detecting what kind of a bird things are, but There are small brown birds that sometimes even come in my apartment for some reason. Maybe they want to make a new beginning or imbue themselves with something in my apartment. But so birds are very real there. There also are ducks, often on the pond, which is right outside where I live. And there are wild turkeys in the area. So there's a lot of reasons for believing that birds are definitely real. I'm trying to get at what they actually mean by this billboard. I guess it could be they could be just saying, don't be too focused on fantasies. Like a lot of people have their idea that they can maybe be as free as a bird in their life and just kind of fly off and do things, and that may be a real lifestyle for a bird. They can just kind of fly and whatever. Human beings, not so much. So maybe saying, okay, kind of keep your dream like maybe a bird can do, but also kind of keep your feet on the ground and be a little bit more practical some of the time. That's about all that I can get out of this. And unfortunately, I can't see Dave's timer, so I'm going to end at this point. Don't know where we are on time. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Excellent. Thank you. I guess that would be kind of terrifying to have a collision with a bird while you're skydiving.
Yep, it would be.
So that's never happened to you.
It is not, but it can happen. So
okay.
It's...
All right. I think we got time for one more. Veronica or Joy, either of you?
I will be brave.
All right, Joy. I know these have been tough. No idea what this one is. All right, here we go.
Oh, nice, nice. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak about some heroes wear capes, others use forklifts. So, like some of the other ones we've had, actually Birds Aren't Real is a movement and they sell merchandise, but Some Heroes Wear Capes is also a social media phenomenon that people refer to when they say, we know some heroes wear capes because of all the Superman and Marvel heroes. However, there are everyday sheroes being shown in TikTok videos and reels and stories, and people that are saving people out in the street that need to, get a little bit of assistance. I just saw a reel where two guys helped a woman across the street because the traffic had started going, and they stopped their car and got out and helped her across like 4 or 5 lanes of highway. And people are helping animals all the time. And I love those kind of reels and shorts, the stories on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram that show that some heroes wear capes. But in this case, this is Ace Hardware, and some use forklifts, and those forklifts make the business happen. If they didn't have forklifts, can you just imagine how much, moving inventory would be in a big place like Ace Hardware? So I agree that forklift drivers are also sheroes or heroes. So thank you, Table Topics Master, for giving me an opportunity to speak about that.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. I know these were tough. I think we did a fantastic job. I'm going to turn it back to our Toastmaster, Janet.
Okay, great job, Jeff. And your table topics have imbued my evening. Okay, let's see. We have 2 speakers today, and our first speaker is our guest, Bruce Pyne, and he will be doing a custom speech around 8 to 10 minutes. Bruce joined Toastmasters back in the last millennium when gas prices were around $1 a gallon. How quaint. He earned his DTM in 2007 and was selected as the Toastmaster of the Year in District 31. He served as a division governor in 2001 through 2002, ran the district bookstore for nearly 7 years, and chaired district level committees and events, including the Fall 2004 conference. He's been a member of 7 clubs in Eastern Massachusetts and as many as 5 clubs at a time. He is proud to say that the treasurer of one of his clubs just happens to be the newly elected second vice president of Toastmasters, Stefano McGee, making him the 4th highest ranking international officer. In late July, Bruce decided he wanted to visit 100 clubs via Zoom by the end of this year. He is making good progress towards that goal. Having already visited more than 24 clubs online, Bruce has put together a tutorial to explain in minute detail the process involved. He hopes to inspire others to do the same. And please welcome Bruce Pyne, Visiting Clubs Online, Bruce Pyne.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. And I'm assuming there's no other guests. I came up with this notion. I was looking at clubs online, and the notion of visiting 100 clubs by Christmas or by New Year's sort of came to me in a flash for no particular reason, and I went with it. And this club is number 29 toward 100, so I'm making good progress. I'm sure you're familiar at some level of the Toastmasters website, and maybe you've even seen the Find Visit a Club. Maybe you've clicked on it to peruse what's there, and maybe you haven't. But what I'm going to do is explain the process and the options that you have. The Find Visit a Club tab is a maroon rectangle in the lower left of the home page of Toastmasters International. You click on that and you get to another page that says find a club near you. Now there's it's basically a search bar, and it needs a name, a town, a city, or zip code to do the search from. So you stick in Dayton or Daytona or whatever, and you'll get a list of clubs. Now, at this point, the screen is divided into 2 unequal portions. I won't say half. The left 1/3 of the picture of the screen is the list of the Toastmasters clubs in increasing order of distance from the location you picked. The right 2/3 of the page is a map with the numbers like pinpointing where they are on the map. Now you may decide that, oops, this is too many choices. Well, that's okay. The 25 miles is the default distance. If you don't put any other distance in, it'll give you 25 miles. If that's too much, you can reduce it to 10 miles or 5 miles or even 2 miles in densely packed areas like Manhattan. Or you can go in the other direction to 50 miles. This is a radius now around the place where you entered. 100 miles, and the max is 150 miles. Now, maybe you're going to get results that really don't fit your schedule, because it'll, in the list on the left-hand column, the left 1/3 of the page, It'll give the name of the club, where it is, say Dayton, Ohio, or Cincinnati, Ohio, or whatever, and the date and time it meets. And you may decide that, my goodness, I'm only available on Wednesday nights. That's okay. You can go to search options and select Wednesday, or maybe Monday and Wednesday, morning and afternoon. And the first club that I visited on July 13th, July 23rd, was actually a club that met on Sunday afternoon. Who knew? There's not too many clubs that meet on Saturdays either, unless there's fewer of them. Clubs have certain letters associated with them. O is online attendance accepted. P is prospective club. As I recall, there's no information on those clubs, so you can't visit them. They're clubs that haven't chartered yet. They're in the process of chartering, but they haven't chartered yet, which makes me wonder why they are even there in the first place. A is advanced clubs. You can visit an advanced club and maybe even participate, but if you don't have the proper educational requirements, you can't join until you've met those requirements. And R is restricted. The restricted clubs are usually corporate clubs that only allow their employees or maybe vendors, selected vendors, from attending. I would also guess that R might also apply to military clubs and possibly university clubs, although I would tend to think not, but I don't know one way or the other. So those are the search options. Let's say you enter Batavia, Ohio, which I believe is somewhere near Cincinnati. I see a head nod. It's number three. Number three on the list around Batavia is TALK in capital letters, each with a period after them, club in Milford. Maybe you've heard of that club. You click on that, you get the Toastmasters page for that club. It gives you the club number, the charter date, the area, and the district. You click the light blue link that says visit this website, and you'll get the club's homepage for that club. Once you get there, there's many things you can click on. I usually click on meet the members, so you can get the pretty pictures of the men and women that are members of that club. Sometimes there's not many, sometimes there's as many as 10 or a dozen clubs, pictures. But the most important thing to click on is contact us. If you want to visit a club that's, let's say, outside your area, outside your division, outside your district, outside your state, and maybe even outside your time zone, you can't visit it unless you get the link. You can't get the link until you contact the clubs. You have to put your name and email address, and then answer a question. How did you find out about us? I just put website as a one-word answer. Hi, I'm Joe Schmo. I'd like to visit your club on, now you've done your research, so you know when they meet. On Wednesday of next week at 6:30 or whatever it happens to be. Don't be afraid to offer to take on a role if necessary. I've taken on roles in many clubs. They'll send you a link. And at this point, I need to tell you that not all the links work. Sometimes I'll click on it and it simply won't work. It's a fact of life. I found out for one club, they have 2 separate links for the first and separate meetings of the month. Well, I didn't know that, and no one else that was there knew that either, but the club president did. Couple of general comments. I've only met 2 clubs that actually do the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning. I'm used to that in my home clubs. And I do that at Advanced Orators. That's the club that Stefano McGee is in. I've only met 2 clubs that have Poem of the Day. Each club is different. Some have different roles. Some have different names for the meeting roles. Like in one club, the Toastmaster might be the meeting master or the meeting leader. The joke master might be the humorist. The grammarian might be the language person. They have fun with it that way by creating different names, but it's the same role, just with a different name. Some clubs are hybrid, some are Zoom, like this one is Zoom only. There's about an even number of each one. One club has a versatility award. That is, if you perform all the roles in the club meeting within a year's time, you earn the versatility award. One club has a cobweb cleaner. I think that was to like clear your mind of everything else that happens that day so you can focus on the here and now. I took on that role. Some clubs have a theme meeting. On July 31st, it was National Avocado Day. August 4th, they had hats. Everybody had a hat. On August 10th, it was National S'mores Day. Most meetings have fewer than 10 participants, as does this one. I don't know if that's a summer thing or what, but it's fascinating to see how other clubs do things. No 2 clubs are the same. You don't want them to be the same. Every club has their own personality. Experiment and have fun. Don't be afraid to take on a role. And I hope by now I've imbued you with a sense of inspiration to visit other clubs. Madam Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you, Bruce.
In her presumably air-conditioned car.
I have a window open and it's not too bad tonight. Okay, so thank you so much for your speech on visiting online clubs. And we usually ask the timer to give us 1 minute of silence for the evaluator to work on his or her evaluation. So Dave, will you give us 1 minute?
Yeah, another difference is that one club I visited recently offers 2 minutes. But mostly it's just 1 minute.
Since I am the evaluator, I can say I'm done.
Okay, thank you. All right. Our second speaker this evening, David Ash, is going to be doing a speech from the Persuasive Influence Pathway, Level 3, Inspire Your Audience, 5 to 7 minutes. And I've asked our guest, Bruce, to read his speech title and introduction.
This summer, 2 major motion pictures, Oppenheimer and Barbie, were released on the same day, July 21st, creating the Barbenheimer phenomenon. You may not be familiar with that. Well, he'll explain that. David has been greatly inspired by both movies and what he sees as the connections between them, and will share his thoughts about them in a speech. In doing so, he hopes, he promises to do his best not to share any spoilers with anyone who has not seen either movie. Please welcome David to deliver his 5 to 7 minute speech titled Barbenheimer.
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Madam Toastmaster and club members. Yes, so I'm here to talk to you today about Barbenheimer. And as Bruce kindly noted in the introduction, this Barbenheimer essentially refers to these two big major motion pictures, which both came out on the same day, July 21st of this summer. And it was a huge event because I think both movies were highly anticipated. People are maybe coming back to theaters a bit more this summer for the first time since the pandemic, and maybe the last time prior to the strike, but that's another story. But so it was a kind of a big thing having both these movies on the same day. So people started getting excited about seeing both movies, maybe one right after the other. And I should tell you a little bit about myself as a moviegoer. I'm not someone who goes to see a lot of movies, but when I do see a movie, maybe I'm a little bit slow and I don't pick up on stuff all that quickly. I love to see any movie I tend to see. If I love it, I want to see it multiple times. And I find that when I go to see a movie 2 or 3 times, or sometimes embarrassingly even more times than that, I learn more. I get some of the message from the movie the 3rd or 4th time, which maybe I didn't see the first time. And both of these two movies, Oppenheimer and Barbie, are a lot like that for me. And so they're both ones that I would recommend seeing multiple times. They're movies with the phenomenon people would often see both movies on the same day, and that's what I've done really multiple times. Like I say, I get more out of it. Like every time I see the movie, it's like a new beginning. And even going to see Barbenheimer the first time was like a new beginning because it's the first time seeing movies since the pandemic. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each movie and maybe some connections that I observed between the two, trying to avoid spoilers. So Barbie, as the name implies, this movie is about the doll by Mattel, which is intended to inspire young girls, and the main character of the movie Barbie is a life-size version of the Barbie doll called Stereotypical Barbie, and she lives in a fantasy fictitious land called Barbie Land. And there she lives with a lot of other Barbies who are, again, life-size versions of other Barbie dolls, each of them representing a particular career aspiration that a young girl might have when she grows up. Barbie Land also includes a number of Kens, who are the male counterparts of the Barbie dolls. And there's definitely, I won't go into details, but there's definitely conflict between the Barbies and the Kens. There's also this fictitious Barbie Land, but there's also the real world. And there's also interaction between the Barbies and the Kens in Barbie Land and in the real world. So we have all this going on. I won't tell you too much more to avoid spoiling it, but that's what Barbie's all about. Now, the other movie, Oppenheimer, is a much more, on the surface, a much more serious movie. It's about the Second World War nuclear physicist, J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was the leader of the project to design the first atomic bomb, which was dropped on Japan in Hiroshima in 1945. And the movie focuses mostly on the development of the bomb and on Oppenheimer's experience after the war, losing his security clearance. The movie has been criticized, I think partly rightly, for a couple of significant omissions. It doesn't focus that much on the actual victims really not at all, the actual victims of the nuclear bombs in Japan. And also the role, although it is a male-dominated situation, there are some strong women in the movie, and they were not really, they could have been more major characters. They should have been highlighted a bit more. So anyway, you have these two movies, Barbie and Oppenheimer. So what do I see as the similarities? Well, there's obviously certain differences, first of all. Obviously, Oppenheimer is a very serious, a very heavy topic for the movie, also a very male-dominated story. Barbie, on the other hand, is lighthearted, is a comedy, and is also a female-dominated story. So you have those differences. But I see a certain underlying similarity between the two, which makes them great to see one after the other. They both kind of have this insular community, which is perhaps isolated from the real world. You have in Barbie, you have Barbie Land, where you have these characters, these dolls, which are interacting with the real world, but they really don't know how. They're kind of They're kind of in this fantasy land. They don't really understand what the real world is. Oppenheimer, a far more serious movie, but you also have this this kind of isolated world, this Los Alamos lab, where they're building this bomb, but they really don't know that much about the impact of the bomb on the world outside. So there's kind of this parallel between the two movies, different in some ways, but I see this underlying similarity. And Barbie, although superficially a comedy, Barbie also, like Oppenheimer, also touches on some pretty heavy topics. It focuses on things like patriarchy, and also the patriarchy in the world, in the real world, the feminist response to patriarchy, and men's responses to that feminist response. So Barbie, although superficially comedy, is ultimately deals with some pretty serious topics, just like Oppenheimer. So the one thing I do want to leave you with, I do recommend both movies, but I want to leave you with one kind of important thing about Barbenheimer. A lot of people have talked about what order you see the movies in. Do you see Barbie first and then Oppenheimer if you see them on the same day, or the other way around? The first time I saw Barbenheimer, I did them in the order stated in the name. So Barbie first, followed by Oppenheimer. I don't recommend that because that way you come out of the whole Barbenheimer experience with the very heavy Oppenheimer vibe. And that actually, psychologically, that was actually very damaging to me. It actually kind of put me off for a substantial period of time. Like I say, both movies were quite impactful for me. The second and third times that I went to see the movies, I saw Oppenheimer first, followed by Barbie. That worked a lot better because although Barbie also focuses on more serious topics, it does so in a lighter way. So you come out of the whole experience in a more positive state of mind, which I definitely needed that uplift by seeing them in that order. So anyway, that's basically all I have. I strongly recommend both movies for the reasons I've said. I think they fit very well together despite differences. My only recommendation is watch Oppenheimer first and then Barbie. And thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you, David. And I will ask Dave Delahoney to give us another minute of silence for second evaluator to work on his evaluation.
I apologize for my tardiness. Time slipped by and one errand became four, and like I said, it slipped my mind.
Oh, I must have the wrong timer.
I was
Joe, have you
glad
been
to see
timing?
you zoom in, Joe.
Oh, I see.
Welcome back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Bruce, have you had enough time?
He's
Think
on
Bruce?
mute.
Oh,
Time's up.
I had
Turkey's
muted
done.
myself during his speech. I started evaluating him on the second or third sentence.
okay, but I'll let Joy Harris is our general evaluator, and she will be introducing our evaluators. So Joy.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. So I would like to go through the reports from all of the folks who generously offered to take a role tonight. And I would like to see if it is time to do the counter.
Hey, Joy, I think you'll want to do the speech evaluators first
Okay.
because you'll count the ahs and
Oh.
ums for them and time them as well. So.
I know, I was looking at the agenda. Alrighty. So we have an evaluator for speech number 1. And Janet, were you going to coordinate that? Because it's not just one evaluator. Were we all going to give evaluations, or do you want just the one?
Round robin.
No, we switched it just to one evaluator.
Oh,
It
whatever.
was originally going to be a round robin, but we
Take
switched
two.
it to just one evaluator.
All right then. Thank you. I thought I had read something on the agenda, and that's unusual for us. We have not done the round robin evaluations. And I know David took the time to complete an evaluation. So I would like to introduce David Ash to evaluate speaker number 1.
Thank you. I do not see the timer here, so I'm kind of operating without timing here. So I'm actually, oh, okay, there we go. Very
Here's
good.
Dave.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so yes, I have the honor of evaluating Bruce on his Visiting Clubs online speech. And first of all, I'll open with my evaluation of the opening. And I thought the opening especially was very, very strong in this speech. It got us very interested. Visiting clubs online, well, the topic of the speech attracted some interest. Okay, sometimes people visit clubs online, but then there was this goal of visiting 100 clubs online by the end of the year. And that may have been partly mentioned in the introduction to the speech, but then Bruce highlighted it, saying he's visited 29 of 100 clubs so far this year. So that immediately is not just that particular topic, that immediately captured our interest because, hey, this is a guy who has a goal and he's serious about his goal. So that caught our interest. It's not just someone who's talking, it's someone who's very, very serious about his goal. So I felt enthusiasm was great, confidence was great, vocal variety great. Maybe a few more pauses. You could put in a little bit of those. Speed and volume I loved. Couple of things I might suggest. One would be a little bit more eye contact. I felt at times you were relying a bit too much on notes. Now, I would say at the beginning and the end, I thought you were looking down, and then in the middle, I thought you were looking up enough. So maybe watch the beginning and the ending for notes. The biggest thing that I thought you might improve on, though, is there was a lot of stuff on the technical details of your topic for maybe the first 8 minutes of a 10-minute speech, and then real stories about visiting clubs maybe for the last 2 minutes. I would weight that a bit differently. I think that we need some technical details of any topic, whether it's this topic or anything else, but the stories are great and the stories really bring it to life. So I would focus more on stories, a little bit less on the stuff about technical details. But great conclusion. You inspired me very much, and I'm interested now in visiting some more clubs myself. So back to you, Madam Evaluator.
Thank you, David. I enjoyed that evaluation. So we have an evaluation now of speaker number 2. So Bruce has an opportunity to give us his impressions of speaker number 2. Thank you, Bruce.
Who knew? Who knew there'd be any connection at all between a personified Mattel doll and a Nobel-winning physicist that oversaw the creation of the world's first atomic bomb? Who knew? Some words that he used that I thought were a little less common but appropriate, stereotypical, referring to the actress that played Barbie. And by the way, I've never seen either one of them, of the movies. Being a guy, I never really played with dolls, so and being single, I was never a Ken. So, but he talked about the interaction between Barbie and Ken, and that obviously and expectedly that would be the lighter weight of the two movies. Then he moved on to Oppenheimer. And he talked about strong women, and I'm wondering, and you can nod yes, is one of those women Lisa Meitner? You don't know. Lisa Meitner was, I think, a Nobel Prize winning scientist from Germany or Austria in I think her area was chemistry. And she played an important role in it too. You were very expressive with your hands, although I think the expressions were probably repetitive. But then again, they were somewhat out of sight because I could see when you raise your hand up to a certain point, I could see them. He did a lot of comparing and contrasting, which was the point of the speech. He talked about the exterior worlds in each movie, and I'm wondering if he saw both at the same theater or whether he had to go from one theater to the other to see the other movie. I don't think he said that. But he said, watch Oppenheimer first. The speech definitely seemed to meet the objective of being persuasive. He was persuasive in influencing us to watch both movies, but Oppenheimer first. And I think back to the 1970s when there were two movies out at the same time, Earthquake and Towering Inferno. The joke at the time was you put those together, you get shake and bake. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you for that evaluation, Bruce, and welcome again to our club.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So it now is time to move on to the reports. And if I have this in the right sync, I believe Veronica is going to give us the word of the day count and the awe counter and the grammarian report. You ready, Veronica?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. If I go through the list of people who spoke, I believe that everybody used the word of the day today. I could be wrong, but I pretty much remember at one point or another, some people have had multiple roles. When I go through the list of the table topics, I heard a double clutch from Joy, which is when she said and. And I heard a good use of the word peruse. I liked the use and the word that Bruce did. Really a phenomenally clean speaking today. Back at you, Madam General Evaluator.
I thought so too, Veronica. I thought there were not very many ums and ahs to count, and I didn't catch my own double clutch. So thank you. Thank you for that. So it is time to move on to the timer report. Are you ready, Dave, to give us the timer report for today?
Sure. Table topics. Bruce, 1 minute and 35 seconds. Janet, 2 minutes and 24 seconds. David Ash, 1 minute and 51 seconds. Joy, 1 minute and 49 seconds. Speaker number 1, Bruce, 10 minutes and 28 seconds. David Ash, the second speaker, was 6 minutes and 50 seconds. And the evaluator number 1, David Ash, was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Evaluator number 2 was Bruce at 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Okay.
And everyone did very well with the time as well. So I thought tonight was imbued with diversity and high interest. We totally had visuals for our table topics. I particularly liked that. And I enjoyed both of our speeches. I have been inspired to visit other clubs by the speech that we got tonight. I became president in August, and I have visited one club, and it's called Midway, and it's in Kentucky. And they are a highly honored, and I don't know their category, but they're a highly honored club with a lot of distinguished members, I believe, working on their pathways. And because I went in August, they were having sort of an annual review, and it was not a typical club meeting. It was honors and metrics and statistics of what they did over the year. So it was a really good one to attend, but they meet on Monday nights and it is hybrid, and they did that very well. People in person, and I was on Zoom, and they had a technical person coordinating all that, and it went very well. So I just wanted to say that. And then I was also particularly interested in Oppenheimer and Barbie. I barely see one movie a decade, and I have two friends now who like to go to the movies, so I have seen Barbie. And I won't take any time to go into that, but I enjoyed Barbie. And I remember thinking on the way to the theater, if we decide not to see Barbie, we could always see Oppenheimer. So I haven't seen it and probably won't unless one of my friends suggests that. But I really enjoyed that speech, the comparisons, and the discussion about that. So I would like to wrap up our evaluation in view of time. We did start on time and we had filled all the roles. And Bruce, I really want to thank you for coming to our club as a visitor and taking on the speech, the evaluation, and being such an interesting guest. I would like to introduce you quickly around the Brady Bunch squares here. Jeff Bott is our club coach. David Ash is our vice president of PR. Joe Swirling is our sergeant of arms. Janet is our treasurer and many other, she wears many hats. And Dave Delahanty is our timer, and I believe he also is a vice president
Of membership,
of
correct?
membership. Okay. And Veronica also is our past president and is our vice president of education. And you have an all-star cast tonight. We have a good group of our members here. And so I really appreciate. I'm going to run out of time, so we don't have a joke master. And the previous president always had a joke for us. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the book I'm reading. So I'm reading a book about anti-gravity, and I just can't put it down.
Okay.
That's the best I can do.
Oh, okay.
All right. All right. So back to you, Janet.
Toastmaster
Comments.
I have
All
a quick
right.
I have a quick comment. I wonder if Oppenheimer would serve as Barbie's Ken. Probably not.
Not the way they showed it in the movie.
Oh.
I think to answer that would require more spoilers on both
Oh,
movies than I want to
okay.
get into.
Okay, leave it at that.
Okay, well, I'm glad we had a full house this evening, and I can end with another inspirational quote on New Beginnings. Never underestimate the power you have to take your life in a new direction. So maybe at some other meetings, people can give speeches about their new directions. Okay, and I know that I'll turn control back to our President Joy, and just kind of reminder to ask our guests what he felt about the meeting, what he thought about the meeting.
Well, I enjoyed myself. I make an effort. I make it a point to enjoy every meeting that I'm part of.
Good, 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 good.